Rintaro is the kindest guy and always helps people around him. However, because of his appearance, everyone is afraid of him. Even the bullies run as soon as they see him. The girls, on the other hand, are disgusted by him. Not only does he look mean, but he is also a student at Chidori High School, a low-level school for idiots. Next to it is Kikyo Academy, a prestigious, time-honored private school for girls. The students from these two schools never get along. One day, his friend invited him to go to karaoke after school, but he quickly refused after receiving a message from his mom asking him to help at the store. Later, while helping sell cakes at the store, he accidentally locked eyes with one of the customers, a small girl who had eaten a lot of cake by herself. Embarrassed, the girl immediately got up and left the store. Afterward, he learned from his mom that the girl's name was Waguri, and she was actually a regular customer here. Knowing this, Rintaro felt bad, thinking it was his fault if she stopped coming. But his mom told him not to worry about it. It wasn't his fault, and that he shouldn't blame himself so much. Rintaro, however, didn't take that advice and continued to feel guilty about it. The next day, Waguri came to see him and apologized for suddenly running out the day before. To make up for it, she gave him a cake as a gesture of apology. This left Rintaro baffled, asking himself, was she seriously treating him to a cake from his own family's bakery? He then noticed she was eyeing the cake, practically drooling, so Rintaro politely declined and tried to give it back. Waguri hesitated, clearly trying to refuse as well, but in the end, she couldn't resist and ended up eating some herself. She then asked for his name and mentioned that he must have been surprised to see her eat so much cake by herself the day before. Rintaro agreed, somewhat awkwardly, and asked why she had run off that day. Was it because she was scared of him? But she denied it and explained that it was because it was the first time a guy had ever stared at her so intently, and it made her heart race. Hearing this made Rintaro blush, completely thrown off. As usually, when he stared at someone, they were terrified of him. They then noticed it was already dark, so Rintaro offered to walk her to the station to be safe. However, she refused, saying it was fine. Before leaving, she turned to him and said that she had never once considered him scary at all. That made Rintaro freeze for a moment, then hurry to his room, blushing. It was the first time anyone had ever said something like that to him. Ever since he was a child, all he'd heard were negative things about himself. Just then, his mom suddenly burst into his room, panicking. She held up Waguri's cake and explained that she had found it dropped on the street nearby while heading out after closing up the shop. Meanwhile, Waguri was confronted by two shady-looking guys who asked if she was Rintaro's girlfriend. It was clear they held a grudge against him. Waguri quickly denied it. One of them laughed, saying it made sense. Rintaro was nothing like a girl like her at all. He was known for being scary. They then went on to say they had heard from someone that Rintaro was actually a delinquent, that he had a bad reputation even in middle school, and that nothing good could come from being involved with him. At that moment, Rintaro had already arrived nearby and overheard everything. He couldn't believe people were making things up about him again. But to his surprise, Waguri didn't believe any of it. She asked the two guys why they were judging someone based on rumors. Had they ever even talked to Rintaro? Because to her, he was a wonderful person. She told them to stop bad-mouthing him behind his back. It was highly unpleasant. Hearing this, the two grew angry and tried to punch her, but Rintaro rushed in just in time, blocking the punch with his body. The force of the blow sent him crashing into the nearby shutter. Seeing Rintaro, the two panicked and immediately ran away. After that, Waguri quickly took out her handkerchief and tried to wipe the blood from Rintaro's face, apologizing and saying it was all her fault. But he told her that wasn't true at all. If he had known it would worry her this much, he would have dodged the punch. He revealed that he actually took the hit on purpose as punishment for doubting her, and then apologized for dragging her into the mess. Waguri was confused by this, but eventually smiled. She said she didn't understand what was supposed to be so scary about him and thanked him for saving her. Hearing that warmed Rintaro's heart and made him genuinely happy. After walking her to the station, Waguri couldn't stop thinking about how he had protected her, and it made her heart race. The next day at school, Rintaro felt exhausted. He hadn't been able to sleep all night because he kept thinking about Waguri, and that when he looked out the window and shocked to see her in the next building, revealing that she was actually a student at Kikyo Academy. Later, his friend is furious and complained to him of how, on the way here, the girls from Kikyo keep looking at him in disgust just because he is a student from this school. Just then, two of his friends who clearly a good-looking guy come in, and when they ask if they got the disgust look too, they nod, saying it is clear that no matter what girls at Kikyo and the boys at Chidori will never get along. Hearing this saddened Rintaro, wondering now that Wakuri know he is from this school, will she stop come to the shop again? After class ended, Rintaro's friend, Shohei, suddenly invited him to karaoke. Rintaro agreed since he didn't have anything else to do. However, as they were leaving the school, they noticed a crowd of students gathered at the school gate, all looking at something. To Rintaro's shock, it was Waguri, standing right in front of his school, clearly waiting for him. All the guys were staring at her in disbelief, wondering who the lucky guy was. Then, Shohei suddenly stepped forward and confronted her, trying to scare her off by asking what she was doing there. But Rintaro quickly stopped him and apologized to her. Shohei then started to cry, confessing that he was actually jealous of whoever she was waiting for. Before Waguri could say anything, two of her friends appeared and pulled her away, asking what she was doing there, while glaring at the Chidori boys with disgust. However, this didn't make Rintaro sad at all. In fact, he felt happy that Waguri had come to see him, but he quickly pushed those feelings aside, convincing himself that they shouldn't see each other again. Noticing the troubled expression on Rintaro's face, his friends grew concerned and asked if something was bothering him, telling him he could talk to them if he needed to. Their concern made Rintaro feel a little better, and he thanked them for worrying about him, but said it was nothing. On the way back, Rintaro noticed the light in his family's shop was still on, even though it was well past closing time. To his surprise, Waguri was actually waiting for him. Seeing him, Waguri then quickly apologized for causing such a scene earlier, admitting she had underestimated just how bad things were between their schools. But Rintaro reassured her not to worry about it. Just then, his mom stepped in and asked Waguri if she still had time. Would she like some of their leftover cake? Waguri tried to refuse, but her stomach had other plans. Later, as they sat together, Rintaro asked her what she was doing at the school gate earlier. She shyly admitted that she had wanted to see him. That made Rintaro blush. Without thinking, he admitted that seeing her had made him really happy. Hearing this made Waguri blush too. Rintaro then hesitated and told her that he thought she probably didn't want to come see him anymore. After all, he was from Chidori. Waguri looked hurt and quietly said it was actually the opposite. When she found out he went to Chidori, she was happy. She had thought it would be a chance to get to know him better. Then she stood up and left. Watching her go, Rintaro realized he had just said something that hurt her. Not knowing what to do, Rintaro told his mom about what happened. In response, she flicked him hard on the forehead and told him to go after Waguri immediately, reminding him it was dangerous for a girl to walk home alone at night. She then told him to stop overthinking things. What he had just done to Waguri was exactly what people had always done to him, judging someone based on appearances. He had always hated being misunderstood and avoided because of how he looked, and now he was doing the same thing to her, assuming she'd hate him just because he was from Chidori. Hearing this, Rintaro realized his mistake. In frustration, he punched himself in the face, shocking his mom. The next day, Rintaro waited for Waguri in front of her school. As soon as he saw her, he immediately apologized for what he said the night before that had made her sad. Waguri blushed, a bit embarrassed. She hadn't realized she had made such a face. She admitted that she had been sad, but those were her own selfish feelings, and she apologized for making him worry. Rintaro looked at her and said it wasn't her fault. It was his. He confessed that when his friends at Chidori badmouthed Kikyo, he usually didn't think much of it. He had accepted that their two schools didn't get along. But when he imagined them saying those things about her, he just couldn't accept it. He admitted he was afraid that if she got too close to him, she might get hurt because of his reputation. So he had held back. But now, he had decided to stop doing that. He told Waguri that from now on, he would focus on her and wouldn't care what anyone from their schools thought. Hearing this made Waguri smile brightly, and she happily agreed. As summer approaches, the heat has already made school unbearable. Bored and irritated by the weather, Shohei suddenly suggests that Rintaro join their school's upcoming sports festival. However, when they go to sign up, the teacher refuses to let them participate, warning that midterms are coming up and failing is not an option. Hearing this, Shohei and Rintaro promise to do their best. Feeling a bit sorry for them, the teacher makes a deal. If they pass the exams and win the sports festival, he'll treat them to ice cream. This makes Shohei happy, thinking it will be easy. But after just 10 minutes of studying, he realizes they're completely hopeless. Nothing in the book makes sense. They turn to their friend, Saku, for help, but he flat out refuses, saying it'd be a pain in the ass. Ayato isn't much help either, as he's still struggling to understand it. Fed up with everything, Shohei decides to just study with Rintaro without their help. Just then, Rintaro gets a message from his mom telling him that today is his family store's discount day and asks him to invite Waguri to come along. Rintaro then tries to text her but keeps hesitating, too embarrassed to hit send. After going back and forth for a while, he finally gathers the courage to send it. He waits for a reply, but nothing comes. Class ends and he still hasn't heard back. He starts to wonder if girls from Kikyo even use their phones during school. Just as he's lost in thought, a message finally comes in. It's from Waguri. She says she can't come because she's really busy this month. This makes Rintaro feels a little disappointed. With nothing else to do, Rintaro and Shohei head to the library to study. But no matter how hard they try, they make no progress at all. Frustrated, Rintaro suggests they should just apologize to Saku and ask for his help. After all, he was the only one who stuck with them and helped them last year. Shohei hesitates, but Rintaro reminds him of the deal they made with the teacher and says he's looking forward to winning the festival with him. Saku and Ayato, hearing this, surprises Shohei. Normally, Rintaro wouldn't care about something like this. Smiling, Shohei says he's looking forward to the festival too, because Rintaro's part of it. Then he heads off to find Saku and apologize. While Rintaro waits, he notices two girls wandering around, looking for a seat. Without a word, he quietly gets up and leaves. The girls glance at him, grateful, wondering if he just gave up his seat for them. On the way out, Rintaro is surprised to see Waguri and her friend studying there. It makes him realize that the reason she said she was busy this month is because of her exams. As he watches her quietly, he can't help but smile to himself. But then, he overhears their conversation and learns that Waguri isn't just an average student. She's one of the top in her class. His smile fades. Compared to her, he feels like a complete failure stuck at a dumb school. He then heads outside and lies down on a bench in front of the library, waiting for his friends. That's when Waguri suddenly calls out to him. Apparently, she had seen him leaving the library and decided to follow him. She apologizes for not being able to come to the discount day earlier. Rintaro tells her not to worry about it, but she promises to come next time and says she's planning to save up enough money from her part-time job before then. Hearing this surprises Rintaro. He asks why she's working part-time if she is rich. Waguri laughs and tells him her family isn't rich at all. She got into Kikyo on a scholarship, so she can't afford to let her grades slip. In fact, she reveals she's actually been top of her class for a while now. She plans to keep working harder than anyone else because she was the one who begged her father to let her attend Kikyo in the first place. She doesn't want to do anything that might let him down. She wants her family to be proud of her. Hearing all this makes Rintaro admire her even more, and it sparks something in him. He suddenly asks if she would be willing to teach him. He admits he's on track to fail again in the upcoming midterms, but this time he wants to change. He doesn't want to keep getting used to giving up. Waguri smiles and hands him her food, telling him she'll let him know as soon as she has some free time. Then she encourages him, saying they'll do their best together for the exams. Just then, her friend Subaru arrives. Seeing Waguri with Rintaro, she immediately gets angry and tells him to stay away. Waguri tries to explain, but Subaru won't listen. At that moment, Rintaro's friends also arrive and ask what they want with Rintaro. While they talk, Shohei thinks Waguri looks familiar. As he steps closer for a better look, perhaps a bit too close, Rintaro and Subaru both step in at the same time to protect her. Everyone is stunned, especially Subaru. Rintaro himself can't believe he moved without thinking. Subaru then takes Waguri and tries to leave, but Saku stops her. He asks if she already forgot what they were talking about earlier. Then, with a cruel smile, he mocks her, asking about her dyed hair and whether her school allows it. Must be nice being a little rich girl, he adds. His words hurt Subaru, and she falls silent. That's when Rintaro tells him to stop, then turns to Shohei and says that Waguri was the girl waiting at their school gate the other day. And then he makes up a lie, saying he was the one who approached them first. After hearing all of this, Shohei steps forward and apologizes to Waguri for scaring her that day, shocking both Waguri and Subaru. Waguri then quickly apologizes back, saying it was her fault for how things turned out and asks Subaru to apologize as well, but Subaru refuses and walks off. The boys are left stunned, still surprised that they actually got an apology. They all then turn to look at Saku, expecting the same, but he simply refuses. Afterward, Subaru tells Waguri to stay away from Rintaro and his friends, calling them a bunch of clueless idiots not worth their time. But then she suddenly remembers something Rintaro said. Curious, she asks Waguri, since she talks to him, what kind of person he is. Waguri smiles and happily replies that Rintaro is a really kind person. Hearing that, Subaru can't help but feel a little sad. That night, while Rintaro is studying in his room, he suddenly gets a call from Waguri. She apologizes for how rude her friend was, telling him that Subaru is actually a really good person deep down. Rintaro tells her not to worry, thinking to himself that he's just happy she called. Waguri also apologizes for making him lie earlier, since she was actually the one who approached him first. She thanks him for protecting her, calling him cool, which makes Rintaro blush. They then talk about their upcoming study session, and Waguri says Saturday might work. As they chat, Waguri realizes she's been talking to him very casually and quickly apologizes again. This catches Rintaro off guard and makes him feel distant. Just when he thought they were getting closer, he wonders if, to her, he's still just the guy who works at the cake shop she visits. As the call is about to end, Rintaro decides to be bold. He tells her she doesn't have to speak so politely with him, then says goodnight and hangs up. Waguri can't help but blush, while Rintaro covers his face, embarrassed by what he just said. Several days passed, and the day Rintaro was supposed to study with Waguri finally arrived. He had trouble sleeping the night before, eagerly looking forward to it. On his way to meet her, he felt both nervous and excited. The moment he saw Waguri, he was stunned by how cute she looked and quickly tried to hide his reaction, causing her to look at him curiously. She then led him to a nearby cafe, where they enjoyed their food together. While she ate, Rintaro couldn't help but secretly glance at her, captivated by how happy she looked while eating. After they finished eating, they took out their books, and Waguri began explaining the lesson to Rintaro. As she leaned in to point at something in his book, her face accidentally came too close to his. Realizing this, they quickly pulled back, embarrassed, their hearts pounding faster and faster. Once they calmed down, Waguri suddenly asked Rintaro why he had said he couldn't afford to fail this time. He explained that he wanted to take part in the sports festival with his friends this year, since the festival took place right after midterms. Failing would mean he'd have to skip it to take retests instead. He then apologized, saying it was a pretty lame reason, but Waguri disagreed, telling him it was a lovely reason and that he must really care about his friends. Her words caught Rintaro by surprise. Smiling, Waguri said she also loved her friends too, especially Subaru, as they had been together since childhood. She explained that Subaru often got misunderstood, but was actually a kind person. Because of bad experiences with boys in the past, Subaru struggled to be around them. That was why it meant so much to Waguri that Rintaro didn't judge her. She then thanked him for that, which made Rintaro really happy. After they finished studying, Waguri walked Rintaro back to the station and handed him her book. Since he had told her what might be on his exams, she had put together the key points and a study plan inside it. She then left, wishing him good luck on his exams. Rintaro felt deeply grateful, thinking there was no way he could let himself fail now. As he was about to leave, Subaru suddenly appeared out of nowhere and stopped him, saying she wanted to talk. Rintaro felt nervous, unsure of what she wanted to discuss. While he was wondering, Subaru suddenly asked if he was Waguri's boyfriend. The question caught him off guard, and he accidentally burned his finger. Seeing this, she handed him her handkerchief to wipe away the spill. This surprised Rintaro, as he had thought she hated him. They then properly introduced themselves, and Subaru asked him again to answer her earlier question. When Rintaro denied it, she followed up with another. What was Waguri to him? The question left Rintaro lost in thought, wondering to himself if she was a friend or maybe just a customer. Seeing his hesitation, Subaru got straight to the point and told him to stop seeing Waguri. Shocked, Rintaro asked if it was because he was from Chidori. Subaru admitted that was true. Rintaro replied that he knew their schools didn't get along and that he was a student there, but it didn't define who he was. Subaru agreed, saying she knew he probably wasn't a bad person. and apologized for the rude things she had said to him and his friends the other day. She explained that part of it came from her dislike of Chidori students and men in general, but when she saw him with Waguri, she panicked. If someone from their school saw Rintaro and Waguri together, there would be no way to explain it. The teachers at Kikyo hated Chidori even more than the students, and if they found out that a scholarship student like Waguri was involved with someone from Chidori, Subaru didn't know what would happen to her. Curious, Rintaro asked why she cared so much about Waguri. Just then, a child ran into the cafe and fell near them. Without hesitation, Subaru rushed to help the child up. Surprising Rintaro, he hadn't realized she could be so kind. The child then thanked Subaru and complimented her hair before leaving. Subaru told Rintaro that Waguri had once said the same thing to her. When they were young, boys used to bully Subaru because of her hair, but Waguri was the only one who stood up for her, calling her hair super pretty. From that day on, they had been inseparable ever since. Rintaro said he already knew that story, as Waguri had told him before. Subaru then looked at him and said that hearing the story wasn't the same as truly knowing her. She had been by Waguri's side this whole time, seeing how hard she worked and how much she went through to get into Kikyo. That was why she couldn't let everything Waguri had achieved come crashing down. She knew what she was doing now wasn't right. Even if Waguri ended up hating her, she could live with it if it meant protecting Waguri's happiness. With that, she politely asked Rintaro not to see Waguri anymore. But Rintaro refused, saying, "I'm sorry." This made Subaru want to cry, but she managed to hold back as she had already expected him to refuse. After all, earlier that morning, she had accidentally seen them together and noticed how happy they looked. On the way back, Rintaro couldn't stop thinking about what Subaru had said to him. While he was lost in thought, two high school girls entered the train and looked for a seat. Spotting the empty seat next to him, they hesitated, looking too nervous to sit there. Noticing this, Rintaro stood up and walked away. But the girls suddenly stopped him and thanked him for what he had done the other day. It turned out they were the same girls he had given up his seat for at the library. The unexpected thanks made Rintaro happy, as he had never imagined someone would remember and thank him for something so small. This made him think about Waguri, who always thanked him even for the smallest things, and he began to wonder if she might end up suffering because of him. Several days later, the teacher handed back their test papers. The atmosphere was tense and everyone was on edge, especially Shohei and Rintaro. Fortunately, they both managed to pass. The whole class and even the teacher were happy for them. Rintaro and Shohei then thanked Saku for helping them study, but Saku brushed it off, trying to play it cool. Afterward, Rintaro pulled out his phone, wanting to tell Waguri the good news, but he suddenly remembered Subaru's words and couldn't bring himself to text her. Just then, Saku accidentally bumped into Rintaro's desk, knocking over his bag. A book fell out, and when Saku saw Waguri's name on it, he immediately asked Rintaro what it was. If you come this far, please consider liking and subscribing for more videos like this. Thank